Hi, I'm Morgan. Hi, I'm Morgan Murray, and this is Dirty Birds. Birth of a Ladies' Man. Like Milton's coming to be in Belly Button being an accident of the most average kind, so was his coming to wanting to be a poet. His childhood was average. He spent it fruitlessly trying to kiss girls and endlessly horsing around with his friends, playing hockey, riding bikes, making fart noises with their armpits, calling each other gay, shooting each other in the ass with Joey Flipchuck's BB gun, stealing beer from their dad's fridges and puking in the woods after shotgunning a single can of old-style Pilsner, stealing cigarettes from their mom's purses and puking in the woods after chain-smoking half a pack of Players Light menthols, stealing porn magazines from underneath older brothers' beds and awkwardly hiding erections in the woods while making lewd comments about the jugs and cans on Miss September, lying at sleepovers, about making out with one of the 7 Ashleys from their class in those same woods. He was little shit, just like all the other little shits, and well on his way to being an average, everyday, normal shit. Milton was well on his way to the same sameness as everyone else. Or he would have been, were it not for the conspiracy of 9th grade hormones, the Saskatchewan Board of Education, pension policy, the inventory turnover of the 7 rental videos at Roy's Gas and Grocery, his father's refusal to throw anything away, his inability to skate backwards, and the insistent questions about what he was going to be when he grew up he'd been getting asked since before he could even talk. That gave him the foolish notion that he had a say in the matter. Had any of those things been different, even slightly different, everything would have been different. Had he started puberty a few months earlier like most of his friends? Had Mrs. Jankowski not been eligible for her full pension for 1 more year? Had something with more explosions than Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet been available at Roy's for Ashley B's 14th birthday party? Had he made the Central Butte Bantam A rep team and been at a tournament in Biggar the night of the party? Had anything been different? Everything would have been a lot different. But it wasn't. Milton sat next to Ashley D. at Ashley B's 14th birthday party as Claire Danes drank the poison. As Juliet took her last breath, Milton drank in the smell of Ashley D's intoxicating cherry lip gloss, falling hopelessly in love with her. The next morning, Todd Struby, a 22-year-old from Vancouver who went to university in Montreal, was hired to replace Mrs. Janikowski as the English, Social Studies, and shop teacher at Belly Button Regional. Mr. Struby, who insisted his students call him Todd, was the first man Milton had ever seen wear a full beard. He owned the only Volvo in all of Saskatchewan, which he'd smoke weed in after school every day in the parking lot. And in the poetry unit of grade 9 English, instead of the government-mandated curriculum of boring dead old white guys, he surreptitiously taught the poems and semi-lewd love songs of Leonard Cohen. The man is a god, he'd say, as he drilled the lascivious themes of Death of a Ladies' Man into impressionable, hormone-addled minds. Milton didn't really understand any of it, but between the coolness of Todd and that Leonard Cohen seemed to be speaking only to Milton, coaching him through the heartache of his unrequited burning love for Ashley D., Milton was hooked. Todd, being cool like that, lent Milton a bunch of old Leonard Cohen records. Milton ran home and dug through the shed for his dad's old record player. He found it buried under rat-eaten boxes of his ancient baby clothes and his grandmother's 44-pound, 98-year-old Underwood No. 3 typewriter. He held both giant machines under his bed and began clackety-clacking his innermost feelings, just like Leonard Cohen, while listening to I'm Your Man for hours, trying to decipher what I'd howl at your body like a dog in heat meant, until his dad would smash on the wall and tell him in not so many words to stop feeling things. Death of a Ladies' Man. Milton played out his pubescence through an awful, terrible, sappy, lovesick poems with barely visible K's and F's and O's that hit too hard and left tiny holes in the paper. He would nurture one look from Ashley D. at lunch into pages and pages of lovesick agony, horrid poems about how impossible love was, things that started with lines like, "Love is impossible," and ran for several pages full of poorly rhyming similes emphasizing this point, like a fun time at the hospital, like a double backflip off a combine, like going back in time, like a saxophone improving a rock song, like Mr. Kelvin not droning on, and ending pages later with lines like, "Alas, send my heart to the hospital. Love is impossible." These first poems Milton wrote, despite his later insistence that he might become a professional poet so much as there are professional poets, were probably his best, or at least his most honest. He never did work up the courage to ask Ashley D. out. The closest he came was writing her a letter, a love letter, the greatest love letter ever written, the love letter to end all love letters. "My dearest Ashley, Your cheeks are like a fawn's on a spring morn, sparkling like mildew. Your heart, my love, is delicate like a flower, but thunders like 1,000 galloping lionesses returning from the hunt, filled with the blood of your prey. And it's my heart, my love, that is your prey, for I am at your mercy. I pray daily for your look, your laugh, my heavens, your touch. I pray to be your prey forevermore. Would you allow it? Pray tell to be so. 'Twould be yours, and yours alone, you feasting on my heart in revelry. Alas, pray tell, shall't be so, so shall't be, that I be yours, and you, I pray, come to me. Will you go out with me, yes or no? Your prey, Milton, Ontario. He carried the letter around in his backpack for a year and a half before Ashley D showed up for homeroom wearing Joey Flipchuck's skater dye sweatshirt. Milton vowed revenge. Revenge of a ladies' man. Each year, the 12th grade class would take an overnight trip to John G. Diefenbaker Museum and Gas Station in Prince Albert, a good 4 hours into the northern Saskatchewan wilderness. The timing of Milton's 12th grade trip coincided with a particularly vicious bedbug outbreak in his older brother's room. So, as any truly great revenge plot begins, Milton, with tweezers and a magnifying glass, snuck into his brother's room and collected dozens of barely seeable, particularly vicious bedbugs. He carried them in a jar with him all the way to Prince Albert, where, in the middle of the night, he emptied the jar into Joey's bunk. These particularly vicious bedbugs, though, weren't actually bedbugs at all. Between Milton's brothers' general sloth, filth, and promiscuity, and their dog being the same, these were the kind of super bedbugs created by the extensive cross and interbreeding of bedbugs, fleas, crabs, and fruit flies, all infected with a particularly vicious strain of the herpes simplex virus. However, rather than causing immediate death like one would suspect, or even minor irritation as Milton had hoped, the super insect caused sudden onset penile hypertrophy, or gigantism of the penis, a condition that enlarged Joey's penis to 10 times the average size. It was a big deal at the time, the sudden onset penile hypertrophy. Joey was hospitalized, no one knew why. Milton was worried his revenge plot had worked a little too well and he'd killed Joey. But word soon spread around school that Joey had got bitten by a radioactive spider on the dick, and that the swelling was immense, like a third leg. The front page of the Herald ran a picture of Joey from his hospital bed, giving the thumbs up, the shape of his new third leg clearly visible under the blankets. Ashley D. in his skate or die sweatshirt, out of focus at his bedside. The headline read, "Local boys bits bitten by radioactive arachnid." Joey got a hero's welcome when he returned to school. Everyone assembled in the gym with their Welcome Back Joey banners and cheered wildly when he came in wearing his team jacket and a special giant penis brace, making a humping motion as he walked. Principal Flipchuck, Joey's uncle, gave a teary speech about how bad things happen to good people and finding a silver lining in even the darkest clouds. Bad things sometimes happen to good people. It's important, though, to always look for silver linings in even the darkest clouds. Take young Joey here. He's been stricken by a tragic insect bite on his, tallywhacker. And he could have chosen to shrivel and die, but no. He is here. He is back. He is better than ever. Mrs. Marichenko's third grade class sang "How Great Thou Art" at the tops of their lungs. Everyone but Milton was moved to tears. "He's been through so much," they said. "That poor boy," they said. "Look at the size of that thing," they said. "Like one of Berta Frederica's overgrown zucchinis," they said. 9 beers deep into an unsolicited bush party that Friday, Joey debuted his new party trick, the big reveal. Someone would dare him to whip that thing out, and he'd unspool that thing from his pants like a garden hose and chase people around with it, cracking it like Indiana Jones's whip. Thank you.